Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at a couple of new EXs from Black Bolt. And I don't mean Black Flare and White Bolt. No, ladies and gentlemen, these come from Black Bolt, and I'm telling you right now, these ones look good. And let's start off with Hydreigon, because not to put it bluntly, Hydreigon takes extra prizes. And taking extra prizes is good. Gets it all within the game that little bit faster. And generally speaking, that's going to end up being a very good thing. So what have we got for my Hydreigon then? Well, we do have a stage 2, which is a little bit sad. 330 HP. But we've got an ability that says, whenever this Pokemon KOs a basic Pokemon by damage from its attack, take an extra prize card. Oh. Nice. That's very, very good. You KO a basic Pokemon using this, you take an extra prize card. You KO something like a Badoo, a tiny, terrible 30 HP Badoo, and then all of a sudden, you get to go and take an extra prize. That's genuinely awesome. Of course, there is a downside here. There is a very large, very sizable downside, and that is the fact that your attack is not that cheap, I think is fair to say. Not that cheap. What we got here is 5 energy, 200 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. So whoever you hit with this attack cannot retreat the following turn. And yeah, this is not ideal. It's just really expensive. Now, the fact that you're taking extra prizes does potentially make it kind of worth it, which is awesome. But I gotta warn you, dudes, this is just expensive. And there are some options here. So, Janine's Secret Art lets you choose up to 2 of your Darkness Pokemon, search a deck for a basic energy and attach it to them, and then if you did it to your active Pokemon, they're poison. That's fine. Actually, no, that's not fine. That's actually potentially really good, because one of the things we need to acknowledge about Hydreigon here is that 200 damage is actually not that good. You're missing key numbers. You really want to be hitting 220, really 230, so that you can be getting big KOs on, well, 2 prize Pokemon. Even something like Pheasantipti's got 210, but that's where Binding Mochi comes in. Binding Mochi actually sneakily very good here with Janine, because you get an extra energy, you get poisoned, you attach Binding Mochi, you now hit for 240, which absolutely is a key number. You will get a lot of 2 prize basics here, and then, 2 of them, and that's the game. And that's what's so enticing about Hydreigon. The extra prizes are phenomenal, but they are making you work for them. Because Ginny's pretty cool. It's not perfect. Now, we do have that new Ignition Energy coming in the set. And Ignition Energy is free colorless energy when attached to an evolved Pokemon. So the theory here is essentially use Janine, that's one of your Darkness Energy. And then you use Ignition Energy, and then that's both of the colorless sorted, and then there's only actually 2 more energy that are needed here. So it's not completely out of the realms of possibility that you can get this one rolling in not a ridiculously short amount of time. It is absolutely doable. And then there are other things we can use, like Energy Switch from something else. Accelerate energy and then use Energy Switch to get it over. Could work. Not saying it's the best plan ever, but I'm saying it could work. There's actually a new card in the set which we're going to look at properly later, but I gotta mention it now. It's Energy Coin. And it's one that actually looks really, really tasty for this particular card. If you are extremely lucky, and you will need to be extremely lucky, because it is an item card that says flip 2 coins. If both of them are heads, search a deck for a basic energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. Not saying that's always going to work. In fact, it's going to work like 1 in 4 times. 3 in 4 times, it's not going to work. But for those times that it does work, this is a very, very interesting card that could make the difference. And the fact that we've got Janine and the fact that we've got Ignition Energy means that we could potentially get this rolling. Then you add in the fact that you're taking extra prizes. And I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, this one, I think there is something to it. Plus, of course, don't forget that we do have the other Hydreigon EX. That is still in the format. That is still legal. And what the Hydreigon does is 2 energy, 200 discard the free cards top of your opponent's deck, or 4 energy, 130 to the active and 130 to 2 of your opponent's bench. The fact that that uses other energy in here, you kind of want to go full dark, that does get rid of some of the synergy here. But I got to go ahead and give this one 4 Wassies just based on the fact that you KO a Pokemon that's basic and now you take extra prizes. Like, I'm sorry, anytime we have extra prizes being taken, that is something very enticing, something which we need to take a little bit seriously. The other EX that we've not yet seen from Black Bolt is Whimsicott. I like Whimsicott. I think Whimsicott looks pretty gosh darn nice. Now, you've got a stage 1 here, which is cool, and then both of them, as you can already see, are used for a single grass energy. That is a win. That is a nice thing. And then what we've got is either single energy, search your deck for free basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, which is not bad for getting rolling, and it is important to note this is basic energy. It's not basic grass energy. It's not pushing you towards a particular typing. It is basic energy of any description, which is awesome. And then single energy, 50 damage for each trainer card that you find in your opponent's hand. And yes, you get to have a look. So look at your opponent's hand and deal 50 damage for each trainer card that you find there. Okay. I can get on board with this. This seems like it could be really fun. But it seems very distinct. It seems like we got 2 very different things going on here. It's either you are using this as a setup Pokemon, get a bunch of energy, which is potentially really good, or you're using it to punish your opponent for having a handful of trainers. And it's weird that you've got these 2 different attacks on Whimsicott here, both of which are potentially very, very good, and both of which are very different. There's very different things going on here in both of these. And this kind of makes me happy. And there's a combo here, and it's a combo with a Jellicent I showed you the other day. Jellicent, remember's got that ability whereby, while it's active, your opponent cannot play any item cards from their hand. And then we've also got the Frillish that for a single energy does 20 damage, and says that during your opponent's next turn, they cannot play item cards from their hand. So essentially what we're doing here is using Frillish and Jellicent, set up the game, make sure my opponent has no item cards they can use, and they can still use supporters and things of that nature. They can still use other kinds of trainers, but they can't use items. So you stop them using their items, you hope they have a few other types of trainer card in their hand, and then you bring this out and you deal, hopefully, a lot of damage. That sounds like fun to me. And this is a weird kind of EX, like I've said. You can use it, as I've just been laying out with Jellicent, to punish your opponent for having a lot of trainers and, forcing them to have a lot of trainers. Or you can use it as a setup Pokemon, finding something a lot more expensive, and then bringing this out as a way to accelerate the energy onto them so that you can then start hitting hard. You could use this with Hydreigon. Now, I'm not sure you should, because it's grass energy rather than darkness, although we do have Prism energy getting reprinted in this set, so you could use that. And, you don't really want to be giving up a couple prizes, etc., etc., but that would absolutely work. Just give it a couple of turns and you're off and rolling. And again, I'm giving this one 4 Wassies. I think as a setup Pokemon, it's risky because you could give up 2 prizes, but getting free energy if you know you're going to survive or you think you're going to survive for a turn might well be worth it. And then, of course, the fact that you can do 50 damage for each trainer card in your opponent's hand, that can add up very, very, very quickly. And I like this very much indeed. So we got Hydreigon, who can take extra prizes. That's really good. And then Whimsicott, who can either set up your other Pokemon or punish your opponent for having a bunch of trainers. Either way, I like these EXs. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Get us! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.